Why do you like surfing?
I like surfing because it's so fun and it's such a challenge, and you can get punished so badly, but then you get these moments of just like absolute bliss and like joy, just so much fun when there's nothing else that you're thinking about. Like you're kind of forced to be like really present there. And I just like love that feeling of like sitting in the water, it's glassy, and you're just like looking out the horizon, anticipating the next set that's gonna come through. My name is Nick Chen. I am an analytics engineer. So I do a lot of computer work and data stuff and analytics. But in my spare time, I make surfboards and I surf. My favorite board is probably a 6'6" channel bottom twin that I made. I made it for last winter, and I went a little bit narrower, but I still kept it a little bit wide in the front. And I just love riding boards like that because you're always riding them in good waves. I think the best wave I had on it was probably earlier this summer. There was a south swell that was like pretty good the day before, and we came out the second morning of the south swell like early, and it was just like glassy as you could imagine. And one of the guys said like, "Oh, it's on." And I knew instantly when he said that, like he jinxed it, but it was so good for 45 minutes. And I just got this wave where I took off, I kind of came in early, but it lurched, I made the drop, and I was just going as fast as you could ever imagine and got clipped by the lip, but it was just, everything felt so good. And then 10 minutes later, the wind came on shore and he jinxed it. Yeah, you actually took a photo of it. Yeah, that was that wave, yeah. You can barely see me, but that was that wave. Yeah. Yeah, I was in the dark that day. It was early because that was like right around summer solstice. I was probably in the water at like, I don't know, 5. Yeah. Best surf trip I've been on was probably this last like Thanksgiving. I went to Kauai. It wasn't even really a surf trip. It was kind of just a vacation. And I was like, if I get to surf, it's a bonus. If I don't, that's fine. And it ended up that we were staying like right in front of this super fun break that I surfed a bunch. We could walk down there from the place we were staying, and there was swell running the whole time, good conditions. So I just got like, I got to surf so much in just like warm water to kind of kick off the winter season in Kauai. I lived in Denver for 5 years, and before I moved to Denver, I was in San Francisco, and I got like hooked on surfing in San Francisco, and like really realized how much I liked it maybe 2 weeks before I left SF. And so every time I'd come back to California, I would always just get in the water no matter what. And pretty much all of those trips were pretty bad. Didn't matter, no swell running on shore. Like I was driving an hour from my wife's house down to the beach, like, and I was gonna surf Huntington in like 2-foot slob. So all those trips were like, looking back, was pretty bad. The mantra that I live by is just trying to learn something new every day, and yeah, just challenging myself to keep developing different skills. Like that's kind of how I started making boards. I kind of decided, I was injured for a little bit, not even really seriously injured, but I couldn't surf for like 2 weeks or something, and that was just enough time for me to be like, I'm gonna shape a board. And so I started that, and I just got super hooked on it. And it's been really fun learning and refining that process. Kind of do that in my work, in like my hobbies. I mean, surfing's kind of that way. Like I'm just always kind of trying to learn new things and get better at the things I like to do. Ideal surf conditions is probably, feels pretty basic, but like slightly overhead, clean, glassy, good shape, not a ton of guys out. More can you ask? Maybe warm water. But I kind of like when it's cold, and cold, San Diego cold, cold enough to keep people out of the water, but not cold enough that I'm gonna get cold. Worst conditions that I hate the most would be, it's been 2 weeks in the summertime, there hasn't been any swell, and all of a sudden Surfline starts, pumping up this like 2 to 3 foot plus day, and everyone comes out of the woodworks to surf blacks. And it's just like super crowded, but there's no waves, and everyone's aggro, and everyone's fighting over no waves. That's probably the worst conditions I can imagine. The craziest thing I think I've seen in the lineup would be, I saw a whale in PB once. I was surfing with some friends and I looked down the beach and I saw this like thing that like I first like I processed it as like a SUP, like a stand-up paddleboard, but it was at this weird angle out of the water. And I was like looking, I was like, that's weird. Like, why is that stand-up paddleboard just like up out of the water like that? And then I realized it was a whale's fin just like sticking out of the water and like flopping its fin around. And so we all like went over, paddled over there and, took a look at it and it kind of looked at us and it was like, all right, I'm over this, and it swam away. My spirit animal, I think I'd say it's probably a hummingbird. I'm just pretty fascinated by them, and they're like just sort of busybodies, which is kind of how I am. I can't really sit still. Like I have a lot of trouble just sitting on the couch and watching TV. I'm always like up and doing something. So I think it's a pretty accurate representation of who I am. My favorite color is that like guava 7.6 gun that I'll probably never ride. I really like that guava color. I just like it. No, hold on. I gotta think about the color one more. I don't know if that's my favorite color. Oh, it's so hard. I can't pick one. I learned through making surfboards that I love mixing colors. I love like picking out a color and like, oh, like that's a cool color. I see some board that someone made on Instagram or some board in the lineup and like trying to break down what you have to mix together to get that particular color. So like I like making them. But I guess like if I had to pick colors, I really like earth tones, like very kind of just like earthy, somewhat natural, but still a little bit of color, like a nice earthy, like bricky, like earthy red or like an earthy green. I'm not that great at mixing them yet, but I think those look really, really nice on surfboards. I don't know. What do you think?